Next up is the face-to-face session. For this, I'd like to call upon stage Mr. Partho Dasgupta, CEO BARC India, to talk about the Ekam factor. Let's welcome him, please. BARC is working on creating a common measurement platform across linear and digital video for advertisers. How will this impact the online world? To begin the conversation, I'm also going to invite our moderator, Ms. Janine Stein, Editorial Director for Content Asia.
Thanks very much. Welcome. I know this is the first time really you're talking about Ekam at this, you're talking about BARC at this event. You weren't here last year, so welcome, first time.
Thank you.
And it's a big initiative. I think of you as the man who's putting warring factions together around the same table, and you're incredibly determined to do it. Where do you begin with Ekam?
Yeah.
What's the initiative, and what are you hoping for?
So Ekam, just like Srikanth mentioned, I think it's nothing but, see, we are in the business of measuring video content. Now, whatever may be the pipe. So we do measure TV right now, as we run the currency panel for TV right now. And Ekam is the next step, which is video on digital devices. So as Srikanth said, Ekam means one. So effectively, we are trying to eventually give a platform where broadcasters, stroke content creators, stroke platforms can use it for monetization, and even advertisers and agency can see the same video across different pipes. So who's watching, how much is watching, becomes much more transparent.
It's incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
Your chances of success, you put your chances of success high, but there is a window of risk. What to you is the risk?
See, I mean, I was just there 2 days back in another such conference somewhere in town, and speaker after speaker, content player after content player, platform players, everybody was talking about how one needs to change the ecosystem, measurement is one part of it, and how the agency system and the advertisers should also change themselves from the TV and print kind of buying into digital buying. So that is what we are trying to do, and there was several mentions of Ekam there as well. But the bigger thing, I think, since you asked me about the risk or what could be I think the biggest thing that we are really working on, and we are fairly well on our way there, is achieving consensus. That is the biggest challenge. So especially on digital, where you have multiple players across the globe and in India, and everyone's, what should I say, there's a huge amount of diversity there in terms of how they operate. Building down the walls of the walled gardens and achieving consensus in methodologies and things like that, it's a big one.
So in building consensus, there has to be a kind of carrot and a stick. What's the carrot, what's the stick?
Carrot is simple monies. I mean, the monies that you will do once you monetize. Stick, it's not right to talk.
Your eventual plan, Ekam will work, it will roll out. Your eventual plan is to go beyond measurement. What does that journey look like for you?
So, when I'm saying beyond measurement, I mean measurement will be very much core to it. I mean, I'm not saying really beyond measurement. What we want to do, I think, eventually over a period of time is create a large marketing cloud. I mean, it's a slightly overused word, but still I'm saying, where all kinds of data streams, including television, digital, telecom, consumption, could all come together. I mean, that's the large thought that we are kind of toying with, whether it is possible in India. Right now, there's a lot of data that is not available. And I think for the whole marketing system, it will be great if all this data can be provided.
And that includes, that's long term, is to provide all these initiatives. Medium term, the benefit would be?
Again, I mean, everything comes from monetization, and monetization, the right decisions. I mean, it's all linked to that.
Got it. What do you think is, so you've got Ekam, what do you think is next for measurement?
Few things. I mean, let's get Ekam first. We have not got Ekam. I mean, we have to roll that out, and it will roll out in phases. First, I mean, there are different phases that we'll do, and finally, what we look at is the TV plus digital piece, which I think will be kind of the way we are planning here is the first in the world, so to speak. So we already run a very large TV panel. I mean, there's a huge amount of TV initiatives by itself, which is where the large money lies, right? I mean, so what we are talking about, return path data from TV point of view, again, is a big data set that we are talking about. We are talking about Ekam and the TV plus digital part of it. And I mean, the measurement side itself, I think there's a lot to do to make it much more robust. We are fairly good, for example, right now on the TV side, we are very good on sports and Hindi GEC, which are very large viewing genres. I wouldn't say that we are absolutely good on, say, for example, niche genres. All this has to come together to make all of this very good. So there are a lot to do in the measurement side itself.
So you're saying the existing system, you'll keep working to improve that?
That's right.
What about moving towards census-based?
Oh, that's my favorite thing. See, technically, these are, see, for example, TV around the globe is on panel-based, right? Even very, very well-penetrated countries, very, very well digitized countries like Korea or even Singapore, where you come from, even there they use panel. They don't do census, right? Whereas digital, what we are planning to do is complete census measurement. So when we do this, there will be one census and one panel-based. But my own, if I really want to throw myself in crystal gaze, I would love to see TV becoming a census measurement. How? I don't know. But I would love to see TV become a census measurement. See, I mean, one very simple thing to say is all the boxes, that set of boxes that give you TV, if the return path comes back, it becomes census in a way. In a way, if you have all smart TVs, which in India is a big journey, but say, for example, in Korea, it could be, or even in Singapore, then the return path can come from smart TVs. So it's not impossible, but there are a lot of things which have to come into play, including distribution ecosystem and everything. Then only it can happen. But that's like a utopia.
So that's kind of really long-term. Does the technology exist for you to do what you want to do?
It does, very much does. Very much does. In different pockets, but it does. I mean, see, even while doing TV, this is what we did, right? We bought technology from different parts of the world and finally assembled the whole thing together. So the best of breed that we got from different parts of the world. So even in this case, technology exists, very much exists.
And the big data tools and the technology? Yeah,
that is something we are heavily investing on right now as we speak, which is, see, I mean, just for everybody's benefit, the TV data itself right now, we handle about 7.5 petabyte of data, which is a huge data set, okay? And this 7.5 in 18 months' time will cross 20, thanks to some part of RPD that we are trying to do in TV and digital, okay? So well ahead of time, we are changing our whole systems into complete big data platforms, Spark, Hadoop, all kinds of that, because without that, we will not be able to do that. And that is a very strong, and putting everything on cloud, that's exactly what we are trying to do right now. And we are getting prepared for what will come to us 12 months down the line.
What about artificial intelligence?
Hugely. We use it even now in some amount of, in some ways, AI and quite a lot of deep machine learning in the algorithms that we run behind the TV system. Even, say, in digital, you will see us doing a lot of correction based on panels and stuff like that. All this we'll be using a lot of AI.
A question that runs alongside is that you're no stranger to upgrades and to patches. We were talking earlier about the number of upgrades you've made in the last 2 years since you started, or I think 3 years since you started releasing. What's your approach to changing things?
See, for example, I think our biggest thing is what the market tells us, okay? When we launched in 2015, September, since then, in 1.5 years, if I'm not mistaken, we did some 18 upgrades to the front-end tool that we have, purely based on what broadcasters and agencies were talking to us, saying that, no, let's have this way, let's have it this way. I doubt any software company will ever do anything like this. So 18 to 20 patches which we rolled out purely because of that. And I think even now, as we speak, we have just rolled out one more big change, and we are loading out another big one in 3 months' time, which will make it incredibly faster. Runs that would earlier take about an hour or hour and 15 minutes will be done in 5 minutes' time. So we can continuously do that, but it's completely coming from customers' end, what they want, and we try to react to that regularly.
Where have you run into a roadblock on technology? I don't want to say, have you failed to do anything? What was your biggest lesson?
No, not really. We have only improved. It's a good question, actually. You know, when we started TV, for example, we imported some technologies, right? Over time, by now, we have started understanding what could be the better things that could be done. And we are recreating our stuff, again, based on that. For example, in India is a country where, I mean, anywhere around the world, you will never get to see that we use some 7 or 8 telecom operators, okay? Now, why 7 or 8 telecom operators in one country, okay? But that's how it is, because some parts of the country will not get somebody's signal well, and vice versa, that kind of a thing. India is a country that has a lot of power cuts. So we need to put a battery backup inside the meters, okay? Right now we are introducing meters which has dual SIMs. So we are learning as we face what happens on the field, the kind of temperatures that India sees between the summers and the winters, the things are very high. The kind of power fluctuation India sees is very high. So all of that we continuously upgrade in terms of the hardware that we put out.
Interesting.
Same thing will happen even in digital. Just the other day, we have started rolling out the panel for Ekam, and we already started getting new surprises which we'll handle, which is, for example, which version of Android and above would work or below will not work, because not all of India has the similar Android versions working, right? So where do you take a cutoff to make it work? So those kind of things have started coming in.
Those demon questions. How much pushback are you getting from people who may not want the kind of transparency that you're going for?
No, it's not pushback. I wouldn't say there's a pushback. I would say everybody has their own way, and we are trying to find a way which could work for both them and us. Everybody wants it, but wants it in a certain way. And we are trying to achieve a consensus where everything comes in together.
So in implementing a consensus, does that
That's
mean
right.
everybody
See,
gets...
that's the standard
is that
role
compromise,
of a... That's the role of a JIC. Even in TV when we did, there's a whole... build consensus on various things, starting from even things like a pricing, okay, can take a lot of time. Now here it's something else, but that's our role. I mean, we will build always consensus to implement something.
Are you happy with the compromises you may have had to make?
Not really. I mean, we have not made too many compromises, to be honest. I mean, we have stood ground. I mean, only if we think it works, then only we have gone and accepted certain things. I don't think we have made too many compromises, but yes, we have, if we wanted to go this direction, we have figured out a way to reach it there in some other way.
And I know that this is not necessarily something that you can or want to talk about, but Facebook, YouTube, a lot of the players that are incredibly powerful, are you confident you'll have them as part of your world?
I don't know whether you're aware, around the world, just go and check around the world, no part of the world has a JIC which has YouTube, Facebook, all the local content players, everybody on the same. We have a technical committee. You're meeting Sashi just after this. Sashi chairs the technical committee. We have everyone on the same table. All the big broadcasters, YouTube, Facebook, everybody on the same table. So everybody is working on the consensus together, if I may put it.
Okay, well, that's admirable. I want to talk about sharing data and the benefits and the incentives you offer to sharing data. I know you have an example with Den. Could you share some of the information or just share some of the experiences
you're talking about the return path data?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just about sharing. They get something, you get something, rather than giving their advantage away.
See, this is very, this is more TV, okay?
Yeah, I'm going back to the TV.
Yeah, this is more TV. Around the world, if you look at platforms who, be it a BSkyB, be it any platform, you just name it, they love to understand what people are watching, right? Unfortunately, in India, apart from one operator, nobody has invested any monies on what people watching. We are effectively, what we are trying to do is we are trying to get into a win-win partnership with them, with each of the big ones, where they know their viewers, we know their viewers, and we use it in the larger currency panel ourselves. So that's the basic thing that we have proposed. Den is one such example where it has already taken off, and there will be a lot of other people who will follow. So that's what we are trying to make it. The whole thing is about, instead of scaling up organically 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 meters, we are saying why can't we talk about 200,000 meters, 300,000 meters? That's the whole.
So you're asking everybody to put their data in a common
that's
pool.
Right, that's right.
And the guarantees you're giving them are?
No, we are also making it work for them.
Yeah.
So if there is DEN, for example, we will tell DEN because we have the technology and we have the wherewithals to do these numbers, weighting, statistical and all that stuff. So we will give DEN, this is what your people are watching. Otherwise they can't use it. Yeah. So, and in return, we are also using the data as part of the larger pool. That's the whole idea.
Okay, so we're talking about the data that they can't use. A lot of people have data that they don't necessarily use.
Know how to use. Yeah.
So
we will make it usable. For example, the same BMW interface that we give to our present subscribers now, which will also be the interface for Ekam eventually. We will give, for example, a DEN a similar interface so that they can use it to actually make their transactions.
So that's another incentive.
Yeah.
What's the most frequently asked question you get from your constituents or from outsiders?
When is always the question, and which I avoid.
What do you say?
Coming soon.
I talk about when, and is it viable, playing devil's advocate, is it viable to have only one measurement system? What is the downside of having just one?
I think there is only upside because, see, I mean, what is measurement? I mean, if it is something like, let me put an analogy. I mean, we are providing a metric for you to transact. The buyers and the sellers of inventory to transact. Essentially that, and apart from knowing content as well, whether some content works or some content doesn't work, the basic thing is about a tool or a metric to make you transact. I may call myself 8 feet tall by a scale that I have, but you will not agree to that, right? So there has to be a uniform foot rule or a normal inch scale or a whatever, which all of us accept. So what we provide, hence as a measurement provider, is one currency. Now in a country, for the ecosystem or the business ecosystem that we have, you can't have two currencies. You have to have one rupee.
The one currency I get, but only, it may be pretty dangerous just to have one person with all the compromises that were necessary. I agree on a common currency. Mm-hmm. So you see no downside at all?
I see no downside at all, as long as you maintain the integrity of the system well.
And can you satisfy everyone all the time with a one system?
As I said, the system has to be the integrity of the system has to be very good. It should be auditable. It should be transparent. Then there only should be one system.
Does everyone stand to make more money from more transparency?
I would think so. I mean, why should one not? I'm just asking.
Because maybe people are selling on viewership or on access they don't have.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You know, so if you're confident of your product, you would rather be transparent. If you're not, see, but this is, I mean, how should I say it? It's a demand-supply thing, right? If what you're saying is from the provider's side, right? From the sellers of inventory. But there are enough buyers of inventory who would want that transparency. They would insist. So it's a pure thing, negotiation between buyer and a seller.
Got it. I've got two questions. It's the red and greens. The reds and the greens, get your things out. Do you believe unified measurement across all platforms, old and new, is possible? 4 reds and 5 reds, mostly greens. Well, that's encouraging.
See?
There you go.
Sold my thing.
And then the second question I have is, do you believe complete transparency will benefit everyone? Well, and on that note, thank you very,
thank you so much.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sir, may I request you to be on stage for just another few seconds. So we have a capture from the session that we'd like to hand over to you. And also, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us here. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir, for joining us at Video Next Awards Asia 2018.